told your friend you're not okay.
A boy wants to date the most popular girl,
You never said you
try the luxuriant car, and go to the fancy school, but he can't afford any of them. Hello and welcome to Fren Recaps. In today's video, we'll go over the 2019 film The Perfect Date. Let's get started with spoilers.
as you fade away.
The film begins with a young boy named Brooks Rattigan. He is a very ambitious young man who aspires to be something big in the future. He is, however, financially insecure and unable to support himself. He is a high school senior who wishes to attend Yale, but his father, Charlie, prefers him to attend the University of Connecticut, which has offered Brooks a full scholarship. He holds a high regard for his father and is inspired by him because he was once a famous writer. The young man wishes to pursue his ambition and make the world a better place. Murph is his best friend, and he is always supportive of him. Murph knows his way around apps, and Brooks assists him while he works on them. They both work at Subway together. Brooks composes an essay and submits it to his school's counselor. He requests that she forward it because it is his only chance of getting into the university of his choice. The woman reads his essay and tells him that if he wants to get into Yale, he will need to do much more and much better than that. Brooks follows the woman's advice and leaves. When he goes out, he admires the cars of his wealthy classmates and fantasizes about having it all one day. When he returns home, his father tells him the same thing, saying that they will not be able to afford Yale and that he should instead attend Connecticut. He becomes agitated and leaves for work. He asks Murph what theme he should concentrate on while writing the essay, and his friend suggests writing about his mother abandoning him. Brooks' mother abandoned him when he was a child, it turns out. He feels sad thinking about it, but returns his attention to the problem at hand. Brooks' classmates arrive at the store, and one of them, Reese, expresses his displeasure at being his cousin's dance partner. He expresses his disinterest in her and wishes to spend the night with his girlfriend. He tells the other boy that his uncle, the girl's father, is even paying him to take her to the dance. Brooks has been listening in on the entire conversation and goes on to offer a boy a date with a girl if he does not want to go. Reese is initially perplexed by the idea and the offer, but Brooks says that if he is willing to give him his car and the money, only then will he take out the girl. Reese now recognizes that it is all about the money and agrees. He then hands over the keys to his car to Brooks. Brooks is ecstatic to be driving such a luxurious vehicle, and he is even more ecstatic about the money. His best friend is suspicious and goes on to say that it is a bad idea, but Brooks tells him to relax because he is just helping a girl out by taking her on a date. He intends to comply with the girl's request. When he arrives at the address, he is greeted by a man who appears intellectual and unquestionably wealthy. When Brooks enters, he hears a girl yelling upstairs, and a woman walking downstairs complaining that her daughter will not wear heels. Brooks is perplexed by this, and then a girl appears downstairs wearing combat boots. When the boy introduces himself, the girl insults him. As they drive, we learn that Celia is somewhat rude, telling Brooks to drop her off at a bookstore cafe and pick her up in a couple of hours. Brooks, on the other hand, refuses to agree and informs the girl that they are going to a dance. Celia despises the idea, but she is powerless to stop it. They arrive at her high school, the boy drags her to the dance floor, and the girl eventually begins to dance. Before the song changes, the two settle into a nice rhythm. Celia becomes awkward once more, but Brooks pulls her in and they resume dancing. Brooks then notices a beautiful girl and turns his attention away from Celia. As a result of his inability to focus on the dance, he injures her foot. Brooks is sorry and apologizes to her. He dashes out the door and immediately gets her an ice pack. As he sits with Celia, that pretty girl approaches them, ostensibly to check on the injured Celia. She continues by introducing herself as Shelby and inviting them to a party. Brooks tries to persuade Celia to accompany him to the party, but she refuses, leaving him with no choice but to bid her farewell. He, on the other hand, begins to like the girl. They leave the party, and on his way to pick up Celia, she jokes that he should become a rich girl's chaperone for dates and such. She's joking, but Brooks begins to think about it. He realizes he has a talent for it as well. When he is about to drop her off at home, we see that he is also getting along with Celia. When Brooks notices her walking normally as she approaches her house, he realizes that the girl was never injured and was just faking it to get home sooner. He tells her that he really wants to go to Shelby's party, but he can't because he isn't wealthy. Celia then adds that he shouldn't go there in the first place because it's for rich brats and not for someone from the working class. Celia then returns to her home, where her father pays Brooks for taking his daughter. He even gives him a bonus for spending so much time with their daughter. When he returns, Reese arrives to pick up his car, and Brooks wonders how he can afford such a car when his parents aren't even that wealthy. Reese does not provide an explanation and simply states that he worked for it. Brooks decides at that point that he will work his tail off to be able to afford a car like that. When he gets to work the next day, he tries to persuade his friend to create an app for him. Murph tells him it's not a good idea, but when Brooks insists, Murph agrees to give it some thought. That night, they work on their idea and end up creating an app that allows people to choose the type of date they want. Brooks is overjoyed to see the app in action, and his friend jokes that he is now a professional hooker. This is when Brooks decides not to get intimate with anyone and instead will play the role of a chaperone. Murph then goes on to create an app that allows him to track his progress. He can also see how much money he has saved to attend Yale using this app. That morning, his father approaches him and informs him that he has received a scholarship to Connecticut. Brooks, on the other hand, is not pleased and makes it abundantly clear to his father that he does not want to attend any university other than Yale. His father tries to persuade him that it is nearly impossible, and they end up arguing once more. Brooks then begins stalking Shelby and develops feelings for her. He sits down to work on his essay that night, but he gets a request on the app and goes to see a girl at an art show. He has a strong impression on the girl. As time passes, his app becomes increasingly active as he receives an increasing number of requests. He then goes to tennis practice and gives dating advice to a girl. Whenever he goes on a date, he conducts thorough research and consistently impresses his clients with his performance. He's everywhere in no time, going to dance parties, games, and other events. He no longer has time for himself. He is constantly on his phone, responding to requests from the girls to take them out. He starts making a lot of money and is overjoyed that he can now study at Yale. One morning, he receives a call from Celia, who informs him that she requires his assistance in order to make her crush jealous. She tells him she wants to go to Shelby's party, which is exactly what he wants, so he immediately says yes. He tells her about his app and walks her through the entire plan as they talk. They go to Shelby's house at night, and Brooks is surprised by how large it is. Shelby greets them when they arrive at the party. When Brooks is about to tell her where he lives, Celia interrupts and tells her that Brooks is a really rich guy who lives in a wealthy neighborhood called Darien. In reality, he is from Bridgeport's working class. Celia's crush Franklin appears at this point. When Celia tries to leave, Brooks drags her along with him and goes down to see Franklin. When Brooks notices that the two are having a good time, he goes off in search of his own crush. Shelby approaches him and begins conversing with him. He is having the time of his life. Shelby is now convinced that Brooks is a wealthy individual, and Brooks continues to play along. After a while, Brooks returns to Celia and inquires about her and Franklin's situation. She is overjoyed as she reveals that they are going on a date soon. They devise a strategy while sharing a cup of ice cream. They decide to stage a fake breakup in order to make it easier for Celia to go on a date with Franklin while also gaining Shelby's sympathy. Brooks is overjoyed as he tells Celia that he now has two wishes. One is to attend Yale and the other is to date Shelby. Celia tells him that her father is friends with Yale's president and that she will ask her father to speak with him on Brooks' behalf. Brooks expresses his appreciation to her. When Brooks arrives at work the next day, he notices Murph is a little out of sorts and not in a good mood. Murph tells him that because they get to spend so little time together, he no longer considers them best friends. Brooks apologizes and promises that they will be spending a lot of time together soon. The next day, Brooks visits a wealthy girl's home and receives a phone call from Celia, who informs him that her father has arranged for him to meet with the dean of undergraduate admissions. Brooks acts phony during the meeting, but he impresses the dean. Celia, on the other hand, is dissatisfied with him and tells him that he should have been himself. Celia goes on a date with Franklin but realizes he is not the man for her, and Celia and Brooks pretend to break up at another party. They break up, but Celia begins to like Brooks. Shelby kisses Brooks and asks him to accompany her to her school formal after the breakup. The two find it difficult to relate to one another and have difficulty conversing. Brooks runs into Leah, a girl who used his app to practice dating, at the formal. She tells Shelby everything about Brooks' app, which offends and disgusts her with its theme. He tells Shelby that he is not from the wealthy town she thinks he is from and that he needs the money to attend Yale. She calls him a liar and walks away. Brooks approaches Celia, who was at the dance as well. She declines his invitation to dance and says she is not a backup. He returns home and tells his father about his recent events. His father reminds him that no one truly knows who they are, and he admits to Brooks that he is proud of his son's development. Brooks accepts Yukon's offer because he does not want to go to Yale if he has to pretend to be someone else. Brooks reconciles with Murph. He also reconciles with Celia and writes her a letter in which he reflects on how his previous ambitions were to drive the most expensive car, attend the most prestigious school, and date the most beautiful girl. But he has revealed that all of these ambitions made him a bad friend, an ungrateful son, and a self-obsessed individual. He writes that when he was with Celia, he felt the most himself, and he longs to be with her. Celia pays Brooks a visit at his home and apologizes for slapping him. Murph and Tuna Melt join them at the Sub Sandwich restaurant, which has been retrofitted for a party. Murph tells Yukon about his admission, and Brooks reconciles with Celia by kissing her. The four then continue to dance until the film ends. Thank you for your time. To receive new movie recaps, please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon.